find a PDF version of it.
دول الست كتب اللي انا بستخدمهم سواء كمعيد او كمدرس في الجامعه الامريكيه. وبالتالي رقم 5 هو متخصص قوي او مركز على ممارسه العلاج، مركز على المشاعر بالنسبه للازواج، والفيرجن بتاع سنه 2004 وممكن تلاقوه متاح اونلاين.
I use these other books also to help me get men to understand their own emotions and their own process. The book that I use at the very top is called Wild at Heart.
أنا برضه بستخدم الكتب الثانية عشان أفهم عمليات الحاصلة في المشاعر، وأول كتاب ده اللي هو Wild at Heart ده أنا بستخدمه كتير.
And it talks about why are men disconnected.
وهو بيتطرق إلى ليه الرجال عندهم قطع في التواصل.
And they talk about an emotional wound that men have.
بيتكلم عن الجروح النفسية أو العاطفية عند الرجال.
Created by their own fathers.
اللي خلقها أصلاً في الأصل وأبهاتهم يعني أبائهم.
And then the partner book to that is Captivating, and it is the book for the woman.
الكتاب اللصيق ليه هو اسمه Captivating، هو رقم 2 وده بيبص من منظور المرأة.
And then I have some other books there. I can share this with you next week or when we pass out other handouts, because there's other articles that I have.
عندي برضه مقالات تانية هشاركها معاكم المرة الجاية.
There's like 30 different articles, and some of them already have a link. So I have to do is press there. So when we send you information, I might just send the whole syllabus with this.
كتير من المقالات دي هتلاقوا فيها لينك، ممكن بس بتدوسوا عليه تنزل لكم المقالة اونلاين، فهو هيبعت الليستة دي على الايميل.
A lot of these are very specific to the Middle East.
وفي كتير منهم هتحسوا ان هو متخصص في الشرق الاوسط.
So when I teach, because I'm a systems therapist, I want to find things that are related to the culture that can be applied here.
عشان انا متخصص في علم نفس الانظمة، فهبقى مهتم قوي ان انا الاقي الحاجات اللي تقدر تطبق على المجتمع المصري او الشرق الاوسط.
So we will get to them next week, maybe, but at a minimum, you will have a copy of all of these articles. Yeah. You will. I can give you the syllabus for the class. You will also receive the presentation.
هتاخدوا البرزنتيشن العرض التقديمي وهتاخدوا اللينكين للمقالات.
Okay, so we got into sort of the what's the landmarks for the personal landmarks. Let's listen to their story. Find out the person's story, because my belief in doing very good therapy is you have to understand the therapy well enough so that you can know where you can intervene. Many times people say, oh, this is happening, so therefore do this. And the client will go do that, but it doesn't resolve the problem. But however, if you understand the story, then you know where the intervention fits best.
فالمعنى الشخصي اللي اتكلمنا عليه مهم قوي ان احنا نستمع جيدا للحكايه اللي بتتحكي في العلاج او في وسط العلاج، عشان في ناس بتتسرع وبتقول هنتدخل بطريقه معينه، لكن كل ما نستمع بدقه للحكايه بنعرف نتدخل بطريقه جيده وبنحل الاشكاليه اللي ظاهره لنا في العلاج.
So here's a story. Here's a quick story. It has nothing to do with couples therapy, but I want you to see if you follow it. How many of you drive in Egypt? Okay, good. So you have to look at how many Egypt in the story already. So, yeah. So the first time that I drove in Egypt, I rented a car. Everyone had said, be careful with everyone who's next to you. So I was. I put on gloves. I had my sunglasses on. And I got into the car, and started going. And then all of a sudden I kept hearing beep, 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 beep. I moved over the first time and people just passed me. And because I'm competitive, I would catch up to people and pass them.
عشان انا بحب التسارع او المنافسه فكنت انا كمان بقعد اتخطاهم.
So at a certain point, I was driving and a taxi cab driver was next to me.
فكنت سايق وكان في سواق تاكسي سايق جنبي.
And he was yelling at me.
وكان عمال يتخانق او يزعق لي.
And I was yelling at him back.
وانا كنت بزعق له برضه.
And what I forgot to do was I forgot to keep on looking forward as I was looking straight ahead.
ونسيت ان انا ابص في الطريق او اركز في الطريق لان كنت مشغول ان انا بزعق له.
Luckily, my kids were on the side of me. They're saying, "Dad, Dad, Dad, Dad."
لحسن الحظ ولادي كانوا جنبي وكانوا بيحاولوا ينبهوني.
And all of a sudden, I had to stop and put on the brakes. To stop and put on the slam on the brakes.
ودوست على الفرامل بسرعه.
What do you think everyone experienced in that?
تفتكروا ايه الخبره او التجربه اللي عاشوها في المرحله دي او في اللحظه دي؟
Do you think they were scared?
كانوا خايفين؟
They were. So I went back the next day and we did it, and we were more comfortable driving.
كانوا فعلا خايفين وفي اليوم التالي واحنا بنسوق كانوا اكتر راحه.
Have any of you ever experienced that?
حد فيكم مر بالخبره دي؟
Yes, some of you have.
Every
Every minute.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes. That's capturing the story. Capturing everybody's attention. By the way, I invented this story right now.
أنا بحكي لكم القصة دي عشان ناخد بالنا من تفاصيل القصة وعلى فكرة هي القصة دي من إنتاج خيالي دلوقتي.
But I took you to a time that you had something similar. Okay. Your job is to listen to the story, experience some of the story also, so that you know where they're going. And you know when they had to slam on the brakes, or when they had to swerve to the left or to the right, so that you're with them.
أنا بحاول معاكم كل واحد يسترجع قصصه الشخصية عشان تعرفوا بالظبط إيه التفاعل اللي هيحصل في القصة.
But what is important is that you understand the meaning of their story, not your story.
مهم قوي الفصل هنا إن إحنا نقدر نفهم ونستشعر قصة الآخر المنفصلة أو المختلفة عن قصتي أنا.
And then you ask the partner, did you have the same experience as him or her?
وبعد كده نسأل الزوج أو الزوجة هل هو مر بنفس التجربة أو عنده نفس الخبرة زي ما هي أو هو مر بيها؟
If they do, great. If they don't, these are things that you get to adjust. You help them rewrite some of their story.
لو قالوا خير وبركة، لو ما قالوش نبتدي نعلمهم ازاي يكتبوا قصصهم أو يعبروا عن قصصهم ويتكيفوا معاها.
Now this is true. When I drive with my mother in the States, she's in the car, and now she's getting older. She thinks that going past 60 kilometers per hour is just very fast.
لما بسوق مع والدتي وهي كبيرة في السن هي بيتهيأ لها إن أنا لما بتخطى 60 كيلومتر في الساعة إن أنا كده سايق بسرعة عالية.
So she closes her eyes.
فبتغمض عينيها.
Every time we drive.
كل مرة بسوق وهي جنبي.
For her, it's fear.
بالنسبة لها هي بتختبر مشاعر الخوف.
The more fearful she becomes, the more anxious I become.
كل ما زادت مشاعر الخوف عندها كل ما زادت التوتر عندي أو حدة التوتر عندي.
Because she makes a noise like whoo 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 whoo.
لأنها بتبتدي تعبر عن خوفها ده بالأصوات اللي سمعناها.
Wait, how is the no? What?
Like this.
So there's a difference, though. That's the point that I'm trying to make, though. Be aware of where there's a slight disconnection in the story. Same experience processed differently. That's what happens in many couples.
نفس الخبرة أو التجربة ولكننا بنتفاعل معاها بطرق مختلفة.
Look at interactional landmarks. This is where they connect, what the significant points of their connection times. Look at how they resolve things. Look at how they finish things.
المعلم التفاعلاتي واحنا نبص او نركز فيه على هما امتى بيحصل التفاعل ده بيبقى احسن وقت ليه امتى واحسن وقت هم عارفوا التفاعل او المشكله دي.
So here's an interactional thing. When I see clients at my center, or at the University Training Center, we have in all rooms there's at least 4 seats.
لما بشوف عملاء في مركز او العياده اللي في الجامعه في كل غرفه عندنا 4 مقاعد.
Remember earlier, Iman talked about make sure that there's at least 2 seats, ideally 2 separate chairs.
لو تتذكروا ايمان كانت كلمت قبل كده ان احنا نتاكد ان في مقعدين منفصلين.
We have 4 because for me I look at process. So where does he sit? Where does she sit?
انا مهتمه ان يكون في 4 مقاعد منفصلين عشان مهتمه اشوف العمليه اللي حاصله هو بيقعد فين وهي بتقعد فين.
And then the distance will tell me lots of things between them.
والمسافه اللي بينهم بتقول لي حاجات كتيره قوي عن طبيعه العلاقه اللي بين الزوجين.
Even in when I see clients, they can sit in the seat that I normally sit.
وساعات لما بشوف الزوجين ساعات بيقعدوا في المكان اللي انا بقعد فيه.
Because I'm secure of my role in the process.
لان انا اصلا حاسس بالامان في دوري كمعالج في العمليه دي.
So you have to be aware of those processes with your clients because that's an interactional pattern.
فمحتاجين نبقى واعيين قوي للعمليات اللي بتحصل دي لان هي معالم تفاعلاتيه.
Even with my students, sometimes if I'm doing supervision, I'll trade seats so that they have a different perspective.
حتى مع طلابي في الجامعه انا ممكن ابدل معاهم المقاعد عشان يبقى عندنا رؤيه مختلفه.
So they can also see the different see and experience the power in the different positions.
فيقدروا يختبروا القوه في العلاقه او اختلاف القوه في العلاقه.
There's movement processes. This is how each partner feels about the different scenarios that they find themselves in. Do they shift? Do they change?
التحرك في التقييمات او التقييمات اللي فيها حركه ان الزوجين يبتدوا يشوفوا نفسهم ازاي دورهم بيختلف في السياقات المختلفه.
I remember earlier I said, have you changed from your 20s? And some of you said, yes, I changed because of age. I changed to situations. I changed to economics. I changed because of marital status. So there's always changes. You want to find out how those shifts occur and when they occur.
فاكرين لما سالتكم عن الاختلاف اللي حصل على مدار حياتكم فالاختلاف بيحصل في صور مختلفه او ادوار مختلفه سواء عشان اختلاف السن او التعليم او الستايل.
And earlier I demonstrated responding to positive contact. How do people respond to it?
وازاي بنتفاعل مع التلاصق او التواصل اللي فيه ايجابيه.
And here's the basic skills to assess. Number 1 is empathic attunement. Remember, we talked about this earlier, right?
Yeah.
What was that?
المهارات الأساسية في التقييم لو تفتكروا أهم حاجة اتكلمنا فيها أول حاجة وهو التحالف اللي فيه تعاطف. فاكرينه؟
Yeah, what was it?
To be able to
حد يقول لي هو
to be able to put yourself in their position and understand where their story is coming from.
Okay.
إن إحنا نقدر نحط نفسنا مكان الآخر ونقدر نفهم قصته من خلال منظوره هو.
مثلا تلاقيه بيبص على الشباك يقول له مثلا انا حاسس ان ده معنى بالنسبه لك كذا او انت عارف ان ده ليه معنى او ليه علاقه كده مش معنى.
Like when I noticed the kind of overlooking the window, then I asked them, what does this mean to you? I saw you doing so and so, so it's this connotation.
Okay. I'm going to show you something different to that. When clients look, I don't necessarily say, what did you say? Yeah, so I don't make a process of you're looking over there outside the window. My comment to them is, take me to where you were at.
أنا بعلق على ده إن أنا بقول له مش بقول له بصيغة مباشرة أنت بتبص بره ليه أو بقول له بطريقة مختلفة بقول له ممكن تاخدني معاك في رحلة زي اللي أنت فيها مثلا دلوقتي أو بتمر بيها دلوقتي.
Because many times, although their face and their eyes may be looking over there, but their head and their heart is somewhere completely different. I want the head and the heart.
لأنه بالرغم من إن عينيهم بتبص في اتجاه معين لكن قلبهم أو توجههم ممكن يكون في مكان آخر وده اللي أنا مهتم بيه.
That's why I say take me to where you're at.
عشان كده بطلب منهم إنه لو سمحت خدني في الرحلة اللي أنت متواجد فيها دلوقتي.
Or take me to what feeling you were experiencing.
أو خدني في رحلة تجربة المشاعر اللي بتمر بيها دلوقتي.
Now I'm sure that all of us know that if a person's looking up or away that way, they're thinking.
أنا عارف إنه معظمنا بيفكر إن لو حد باصص لفوق أو بعيد هيبقى بيتأمل أو بيفكر.
What?
او dissociating.
أو واصل؟
Dissociating.
Yeah. Or if they're feeling, they're usually going down. or to the side.
أو إن عواطفهم أو مشاعرهم يا إما بتزيد أو بتتنحى جانبا.
Acceptance.
القبول.
Are you accepting enough for any problem that they bring to you?
هل أنت تتقبل أي مشكلة بتطرح عليك في جلسة العلاج؟
Yes. Are you aware of your biases?
هل أنت ملم بالانحيازات بتاعتك؟
Good, because they will come. And then genuineness. Are you willing to be genuine with your client and tell them that you don't agree with something?
حقيقتك أو قصدك هل أنت فعلا منفتح إن أنت تشارك ده مع العميل بتاعك؟
But is it my place to tell them I believe it?
It depends.
هل دوري أقول لهم أنا مؤمن بإيه؟
So let me give you a situation. So a couple comes in to you and he is using drugs.
طيب هديكم مثال لو زوجين جم وأحد الزوجين يعني مدمن مخدرات أو بيشرب مخدرات.
Are you an advocate of drug use?
هل أنتم مناصرين أو ضد شرب المخدرات؟
So how would you? And the wife now says he's using drugs.
والزوجة قالت إن هو بيشرب مخدرات.
What's your opinion, doctor?
إيه رأيك يا دكتور؟ أو إيه رأيك في اللي بيحصل ده؟
Should I answer?
Yes, please.
I usually get it, but I would throw it back to her. I wouldn't say my opinion, but I would throw it back to her and how does it affect her that she's using drugs.
Yeah, but that wasn't my question, doctor. Because I think we've been having problems, so it's wrong, right?
But here I could do some psychoeducation. I could give them like a decision on how it affects the relationship, how it affects him on a personal level, and how it affects her.
Yes. Did you hear what she said? How she said it?
بالأغلب أنا مش بقول وجهة نظري لو طرح عليا تساؤل زي ده، بس برجعه تاني للزوج أو الزوجة وبعمل لهم حاجة اسمها سايكو إديوكيشن، بعلمهم من طريقة نفسية عميقة إنه إزاي ده بيأثر عليهم أو بيأثر على العلاقة بتاعتهم.
But there's a but to this. Sometimes clients will not only hear what you said, but what your face said to them.
في بعض الأحيان العميل مش بيفتكر بس الكلام اللي بتقوله، لا وكمان كل المشاعر أو التعبيرات اللي بيقولها جسمك.
أحيانا اللي بيسألنا أنت متجوزة؟ فأنا ما بقاش متجوزة فمش عارفة أحيانا أوي أجاوب ما أجاوبش. طيب
Sometimes the client would ask me, "Are you married?" So I'm not up to
عشان تحسي بنفس المشاعر اللي أنا حاسسها.
because he wants her to like feel
So, all right. So, how would you answer that question? Are you married?
I would answer. Why is it important for you to know if I'm married? To switch the question to him again. So,
Because I want to know if you can help me or not.
okay. And would it be a difference? Would it make a difference?
Yeah, it would.
لا طبيب الجاينات مش لازم يكون ست.
طيب انا بتعامل في الحاله دي ان انا بساله او بعيد عليه تساؤل هو ليه مهم بالنسبه لك معرفه ان انا متزوجه او لا، فممكن العميل يرد يقول مهم لانه ده هيخليك تحسي بمشكلتي اكتر، فازاي نتعامل مع السؤال ده؟
أو عندك أولاد نفس السؤال.
انت حابه
So, will you answer the question?
طب بتجاوبي السؤال ده ازاي؟ او بتجاوبيه اصلا؟
Different about the personality in front of me.
الإجابة بتختلف على حسب الشخصية اللي قدامي.
So here's what I'm going to give you what everyone's asking underneath all of these superficial questions. Are you going to be able to handle my problem?
وكأن المخفي ورا كل الأسئلة السطحية اللي بنتعرض لها دي وكأنه تساؤل، هل هتقدري فعلا تحتوي المشاكل بتاعتي؟
Can I trust you with my information?
هل أنا أقدر أثقك أو أضع ثقتي فيكي بالمعلومات اللي هقولها دلوقتي؟
Will you have empathy towards me if I tell you something very crazy?
هل هتقدري تتعاطفي معايا لو شاركتك بحاجة ضرورية جدا؟
هو ممكن أنا أرد على السؤال أنا بعرف نفسي في مجال المهنة أو في مجال العلاج الزواجي أو الأسري قد إيه أو الحاجات اللي أنا درستها قد إيه، فبقول لها ده كافي إن تخليك تطمني إن أنا أقدر أساعدك.
The way I handle the situation or this answer, مش عارفة أتكلم more about the professional application. And then
you ever say I don't know?
هل في مرة من المرات قلت ما اعرفش؟
You don't understand why sometimes somebody's going to come to you with something that you've never treated before. You don't know, have enough experience. I don't know. No, okay, so here, all right. I'm going to make it very personal. This was one of the first cases that I saw. I am not Muslim. However, religions fascinate me. I'm very interested in it. And the husband said to me, so what do you think about having two wives? I said, I've only had one wife, and that was hard. So two wives would probably be harder. So I don't know what it is to have two wives at the same time. And so my follow-up response was, however, I'm willing to go along the journey with you.
ولكن بقول ان انا مستعد ان انا امر معاك في الرحله دي او اشاركك الرحله.
So I owned what I did not know from the very start, but I also said I am willing to just explore it. What should I know these three are?
اي من دول بيشرح اللي احنا بنتكلم عليه دلوقتي.
I was genuine. I was accepting him. And I had some empathy towards him.
ففي المثال ده أنا كنت حقيقي وكنت قادر أتعاطف معاه وكنت متقبل اللي هو بيعمله.
At the same time, I had to tell the wife, this has to be very difficult for you.
في نفس الوقت كان بيترتب عليا إن أنا أقول للزوجة إنه أكيد الأمر صعب جدا عليا.
And she just cried at that statement alone. She cried.
وعند الجملة دي بالذات الزوجة ابتدت تبكي.
Because I was being empathic towards her. I was also being empathic towards the husband. I was being accepting of both the difficult circumstance. Because I've never felt, well, that's not true. I have felt being unselected or coming second or third, whatever it is. We all have at a certain level. And we have to drop some of that history from us.
ففي المثال ده أنا كنت ببين أو بوري التعاطف بتاعي للزوج وللزوجة كنت في نفس الوقت متقبل صعوبة الموقف اللي بيمر فيه الاثنين.
And therapy skills are very important. And by the way, these skills right here, the first three of them, they go with almost every single theory they can think of. You always need reflection. You always need validation. You always need to reframe.
المهارات دي أساسية وهنلاقيها بتستخدم أو تستعمل في كل النظريات، فإحنا بنحتاج دايما نعكس أو نوري وجهة النظر الأخرى للعميل ونوكد المشاعر ونعيد صياغة المحتوى.
What dictates is your role as a clinician.
هو أهم شيء أو المحور الأساسي هنا هو دورك كمعالج.
So what did we say earlier yesterday of the role of the EAGT clinician? Is it an active role or is it a passive role?
دور المعالج المتخصص في EAGT هل هو دور نشط أو دور خادم؟
But do they become a consultant or a coach?
هل هم مستشارين ولا كوتش؟
Very good. You are part of the process. You are not above them. You are not to the side of them. You are in the middle.
انتوا جزء من العملية، لا في فوقية ولا في دونية، انتوا في المنتصف.
Later on, we're going to see some videos that I sort of around 4:30. Here's the other reflection validation. We need these things. Reflect the client's experience. Validate the client's experience. That's for both of them. If he's angry, acknowledge that he's angry. If he's loud, acknowledge that it's at a higher level of it. Or if they're very low, acknowledge that they're low.
ان احنا نعكس وان احنا نوكل تجربة العميل مهما كانت سواء كانت كبيرة أو قليلة، محتاجين ان احنا نوري ده للعميل.
Also be aware of the non-verbal communication.
مهم قوي ناخد بالنا من اللغه الغير منطوقه او لغه الجسد.
Look at how we are sitting in the room now.
بالكم قاعدين ازاي في الاوضه دلوقتي؟
What do you see?
شايفين ايه؟
All looking towards.
Yeah, you're all. Remember how we started off yesterday?
فاكرين ابتدينا ازاي امبارح؟
They were all the way over there to Iman.
كنا منتشرين ناحيه ايمان.
And I was hiding in that corner trying to catch up with all the presentation for today.
وانا كنت قاعد في الكورنر كده مستخبي بحاول ان انا الحق المحتوى بتاع النهارده.
But yeah, look at how we shifted today.
شوف التغير اللي حصل في القعده بتاعتنا النهارده.
That's a process.
دي عمليه تغيير.
Nobody said it, but it's a process that happened.
هي غير منطوقه ولكنها تحدث.
And for your couples, become aware of the incongruences. When they're not together, be aware of the different shifts.
ومع الازواج ناخد بالنا من عدم التناسب اللي بيحصل بينهم، التغيير اللي بيحصل.
So I become attuned to it, even with my students. Some students I get to know better than others. And the students that I get to know better than others, they end up realizing that I pay attention to the finest detail in almost every one of them.
الطلبه بتوعي بياخدوا بالهم ان انا باخد بالي من ادق التفاصيل.
Sure.
انا اول مره قابلت دكتور مايكي في الجامعه كنت قالعه الجزمه بتاعتي في العياده عندنا في الجامعه. كنت قالعه الجزمه عشان كنت حصلني يعني وعامه احنا بنقعد براحتنا في العياده يعني. فهو اول ما دخل اتعرف عليا وقال لي ايه ده انت قالعه الجزمه بتاعتك انا كده مبسوطه انا حاسه ان انت في بيتك. فانا مبسوطه قوي من قلعه الجزمه ده.
Yes, she's talking about the story when I saw her the first time and she had her shoes off. No. But I've noticed even the shoes that most of you are wearing. From the cool shoes, some of you have white shoes with stripes, some of you have boots on, some of you have different colors. Those who match their fingernails to the rest of the outfit. Fingernails? What?
Nail polish.
Either or, you know, the nail polish color, or when they, yeah.
باخد بالي من ادق التفاصيل حتى الضوافر والمناخير اللي عليها.
And if you're my client, I will even get to the point of I could sense the scent that you're wearing, like the perfume, if you've changed or not.
وحتى مع العملاء بتاعي باخد بالي من حتى نوع البرفان اتغير ولا لا.
Because I will even make a comment on that for the couple.
انا هعلق على ده كمان قدام الزوجين.
No, because I don't say, oh my gosh, it's not really good. But I might say, oh,
I noticed you are changed your flirting.
yes, so I might say, I'll do something like this, like, one of you is wearing a different scent today. And then she might say yes, or yes she is, or yes I am. Because I make it so that I'm testing, will they come together or will they go apart?
ممكن بس اعلق اقول ده في حد النهارده وحد ريحه مختلفه. هو اتعامل مع ازواج مصريين؟
Yes.
عشان ما بيردوش.
What? I'm aware. Trust me. I opened the window and no, but I've even said to even guys, and okay, this is too much. We'll go on. It's not about me. But I become aware of the process. That's what I'm saying to this. And that's what the next slide is. Become aware of the process. Remember the 3 tasks of the EFT. Number 1 is create and maintain your therapeutic life. Number 2 is access and reformulate emotions.
إعادة هيكلة المشاعر.
So I might ask, tell me your name, please. What are you feeling right now? No, hold on, wait. Tell me what's going on in your heart.
ممكن تقولي ايه اللي حصل دلوقتي في قلبك او في صدرك؟ I was really focusing, and when you asked me, it was like out of order.
Okay. So I created some anxiety.
فأنا خلقت عنده قدر من التوتر.
Would you say it's anxiety?
هل هو توتر حاسس بالتوتر؟
Okay. What did I just model for you? I reformulated his emotion.
أنا أعدت صياغة مشاعره.
Okay. He described it, and then I asked it, because all right, was it anger? No. It sounds like anger.
كان غضب؟ يبدو إن هو غضب.
Oh, word. Okay. Help me understand a little bit more, because I don't quite get it.
ممكن تشرح لي أكتر شويتين قوي؟
That's okay. You can stop. But did you notice what happened?
تلاحظين اللي حصل في التفاعل ده؟
I purposely gave him a wrong emotion. However, it could still be within it. And I labeled it something different in this case, because we first started as anxiety, but we labeled it something different. When he said no, what was my next response?
Describe it, please.
Help me understand it. Because if he helps me understand it, guess what's going to happen within him? He becomes more aware of what it is. Versus, well, then tell me what it is.
لو لاحظتوا أنا اديته هنا مسمى مختلف أو غلط عن المشاعر اللي هو بيشعر بيها، ولما طلع غلط الشعور ده غلط، ولو إنه ممكن يكون في نفس الإطار، طلبت منه إن هو يشرح لي الشعور ده أكتر، وهنا ساعدته إن هو يوصل أو يعيد صياغة المشاعر بتاعته.
And sometimes we structure the interaction.
إعادة صياغة التفاعل اللي حاصل بيننا.
So sometimes the couples are just talking with each other, and I'm trying to listen.
في بعض الأحيان الزوجين بيتكلموا مع بعض وأنا بحاول إن أنا أسمعهم.
So I say, you two do that very well.
فممكن أعلق وأقول لهم أنتوا على فكرة بتعرفوا تتكلموا بصورة كويسة جدا.
Unfortunately, I can't keep up. Could you slow down?
ولكن للأسف أنا مش قادر أتابعكم، فممكن تهدوا الفصل ده شوية.
Or take turns.
أو تتبادلوا الأدوار.
So they will start taking turns, but then they go back at it.
هيبتدوا يتبادلوا الأدوار فعلا، ولكنهم هيرجعوا تاني يمسكوا في بعض.
So then I say, okay, here's a rule. Who's ever holding on to this, and it could be a pillow, it could be a marker, it could be anything, is the one that gets to speak right now. So she's talking, and then he wants to say something like, because she has it still, and it's like, pass it on to him. And then now it's his turn. And we go through that. Some couples will say, one of my couples said, okay, she's been speaking for now 3.5 minutes, I want 3.5 minutes. I'm like, all right, let's try it. So, but that's sort of this. I am restructuring the interactions in a very mild form.
يبقى أنا بعيد تنظيم أو هيكلة التفاعل اللي حاصل ده لما بيكونوا يعني ماسكين في بعض أو بيتكلموا في نفس الوقت، إن أنا ممكن أعمل قاعدة إنه أدي حد منهم مثلا قلم أو أي شيء، وأقول اللي معاه الشيء ده هو اللي ليه حق إنه يتكلم، ولما نخلص كلام فبقول له لو سمحت ادي الشيء ده القلم ده للزوج التاني عشان يتكلم. وساعات في أزواج بيبصوا في الساعة وبيقولوا معنى كده إن هو اتكلم مثلا 3 دقايق ونص، فهي كمان هتقول أنا محتاجة أتكلم نفس الوقت.
How much of the story did I tell you yesterday about the couple who had an affair? Did I share it at all?
أنا حكيت لكم عن الزوجين اللي كان فيهم حد في علاقة.
All right. So really quick, I will reshare the story. My very first couple that I saw here in Egypt, she had discovered the affair that he was having.
أول زوجين تعاملت معاهم لما جيت مصر إنه زوجها اكتشفت إنه زوجها بيخونها.
And it was really his 12-year-old son discovered the text and then the email message.
وابنه اللي عنده 12 سنة هو اللي اكتشف المسجات أو الشات اللي على الموبايل والإيميلات.
And who was the 12-year-old's best friend, especially for a boy?
ومين كان الصديق الصدوق اللي عنده 12 سنة ده؟
Is it the father or the mother?
الأم ولا الأب؟
The mother. So what do you think he said? Little boy said.
Hold it here.
Yeah, he said, Mom, look what I found.
عشان كده راح امه على طول قال لها الحقي الحقي شفت ايه.
And so when they came separately, because she was just devastated. And then he came and he told me the story. Remember the woman that he would meet like 3 times a year, and they would go to conference. And then they would have one big, long weekend. So on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then on Sunday he would go home and rest.
طيب هو كل واحد جالي لوحده منفصل يعني، وزوجة كانت في حالة منهارة جدا، وزوج كان شاركني ان هو بيشوف الست الثانية على العلاقة بيها دي 3 مرات في الأسبوع.
And then the explanation of that's the animal instinct that all men have.
وكان يعني بيبرر ده انه ده الغريزة الحيوانية اللي جواه.
And then I asked him how about the flames that he has.
وكان بيسأله طيب في أي علاقات تانية أو يعني حاجات عابرة وريت ليها.
And the thing is just a one time once a year.
وكان هو قال لي في علاقة عابرة كانت مرة في السنة.
So the first time that I met him, I told him, you know, you have a 20 to 30% chance that your marriage is going to make it.
فأول مرة قابلت فيها قلت له أنت عندك من 20 ل 30% نسبة نجاح زواجك.
Because he was a male who minimized the impact that he had created.
لأن هو كان من النوع اللي بيقلل من شأن الحاجات اللي بيعملها.
And I triggered an emotion in him and saying, no, I am in a competition.
واستثارت مشاعر المنافسة عنده.
So after 9 months, actually, when the wife had finally, they had gone through a reconciliation process, refocused on their marriage, and the biggest compliment that I could have from a client is,
هم مروا بعملية من عمليات التصالح لإعادة التركيز على أصل العلاقة بينهم، والتعليق اللي جالي أو أكبر تعليق سمعته في العلاقة دي.
when a client says, I came to you not knowing what we were going to do, you gave me something to do, and I thought,
يجي يقول لي أنا كنت جاي لك ومش عارف أنت هتعمل إيه، بس في الآخر اديتني حاجة أعمل بيها إيه.
oh, I like it. It just became much better every time. And he said, but yet, in about the 5th month, 6th month, I noticed that there had been a change.
في 5 أو 6 شهر أنا فعلا أخدت بالي أو لاحظت إن في تغيير.
But I never felt the change along the way.
لكن أنا ما حسيتش بالتغيير ده خلال العلاج.
So that by the time I was 9 months, he was even further along.
لما وصلنا للشهر التاسع كان هو كمان تخطى أو تقدم أكتر.
Part of EFT can do that as well.
جزء من العلاج بال EFT يقدر يوصل لده.
Because,
أنا عايز أسأل على سؤالين. أول سؤال، حضرتك تشتغل في الإكسترا ماريتال والفايلنس، يعني هل ده مسموح؟ لأن في مدارس بتقول لا مش هنعرف نشتغل في ده أو بلاش نشتغل في ده. السؤال الثاني،
okay, let me answer the first question. The extramarital affair and violence?
Yes.
No, never. No, okay. I never work with a couple when there's a recent history of violence, because especially if the woman brings him in, because the likelihood is that there's going to be more violence.
أنا ما اشتغلتش خالص مع الأزواج اللي عندهم تاريخ من العنف المنزلي، لأنه لو حصل هجوم العلاج ده بيستثير أو بيستحث المزيد من العنف.
And if it's court ordered or mandated by law, for sure, 100% nothing, no couples work.
وحتى لو الموضوع منظم عن طريق الجهات المعنية زي المحاكم أو الحكومات، لا هو فعلا ما بينفعش، غير مجزي.
However, if there's an extramarital affair, yes, I will work with them 100% of the time.
نشتغل مع العلاقات الخارج الزواج أو العلاقات الخيانات يعني.
But like it's ongoing?
No. Oh, no. I always have to find out what are the rules. What is the rules for the couple? Because sometimes they will claim it's a religious thing. Sometimes they'll say, no, we have an open relationship. Sometimes they say something else. I need to understand what it is.
محتاج أفهم أصل اللي حاصل ده. ساعات في أزواج بيرجعوا ده الأصل الديني، او للعلاقه بينهم.
السؤال التاني ان هو انا لو لقيت حاجه زي كده انا اتوقع من نفسي ان انا هشتغل فيها دايناميك فتره وبعد كده ارجع بقى ثيرابي كابل ثيرابي اور نوت، بس هشتغل بس هو ليه بيعرف كذا واحده او ليه بيضرب كتير، يعني هشتغل دايناميك مش عارفه.
The issue is a couple's issue. An affair is always a couple's issue. Is there something that's missing in this person? Yes. But what you have to remember is that the partners can complement each other. And they can work out the causes for the affairs. They can do some other things. Where it's different is if it's a sexual addiction.
العلاقات خارج الزواج او الخيانات هي يعني في الامر الاول هي علاقه بين الزوجين، حتى لو حد منهم او فرد منهم عنده مشاكله النفسيه الخاصه بيه، بس ان هي انا برجعها للزوجين، والدايناميك اللي بتحصل بين الزوجين دي من شانها انها تعيد العلاقه.
If it's a sexual addiction, it's a group therapy is the best thing for it.
الا في حاله ادمان العلاقات الجنسيه فاحسن حل او احسن طرق العلاج هو العلاج الجمعي.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Just so that you
I want to
know.
say something. Could I?
Yeah.
يعني في مع our clients or my
Go say
clients
it in Arabic. She'll translate to me.
في مش عارفه اسمه في الكلاينتس بتوعي يعني كتير جدا ما كنت بلاقي عنف وبلاقي اكسترا مايتال يعني اكسترا مش اكسترا.
Okay, well done.
ولما كنا بنتكلم كتير قوي مع بعض دايناميك بس ما دخلتش في الكابل كان الدنيا دي بتهدى. السؤال اللي خاص بيا انا بقى كاسماء كثيرابيست، ازاي هعرف اشتغل الشغل اللي انا بشتغله ده احطه في كابل؟ ازاي الشغل اللي انا بشتغله ده احطه في كابل؟ Do you get my point?
No.
يعني for a long time I work with men and they have يعني histories, different histories and with violence, with drug addiction, with sex addiction, with
Listen to what you're saying. They had a history of drug addiction, they had a history of violence, they had other histories at the addictions area.
Yeah.
So that, and what did I say is good for that approach? Group therapy.
Not me.
What?
Couple therapy, not me.
Are you doing the group for addiction?
Me, I do a group addiction? Yes, I do.
For those men who were angry or had addictions, did you see them in that group?
Yes.
And then you would see.
I'm working at hospital for addiction.
Okay. And how about where is the couples therapy part?
Outside. That's what I say. That يعني I'm with the man. He is my client, and we overgo therapy and everything. When he is ready, for about after 5 months, I start with his wife as a couple doctor. At this stage, they can be engaged together, and I see that I can do something in the therapy. But before this one, when I look at if I'm at the clinic and I have both of them, and one of them has a strong history, to start with both of them from 0 stage, I see it's so hard. But if I start with the man or with the woman for 5 months, and then I start with 5 and 0 stage, I can go on.
All right.
How to compare this one with this one?
يعني سؤالك لو انت بتشتغلي مع زوجين، واحد والزوج عنده مشاكل تاريخ اسري او مشاكل ادمان او مشاكل علاقات، ان انت بتفضلي او الاحسن ان انت تشتغلي معاه الاول فردي، وبعد 5 شهور من مرور الشغل الفردي تدعو زوجته وتشتغلي علاج زوجي.
Remember, part of what I said earlier is if there's an addiction problem, You need to resolve the addiction or make it somewhat sober enough from the addiction before you can build a relationship. Okay, so
عندنا مشكلة إدمان، فمهم إن إحنا نشتغل أو نحل إشكالية الإدمان دي قبل ما ندخل في العلاج الزوجي.
so we're good. Where it's aggression, that's different than, it depends on the aggression. Because somebody is verbally aggressive, I can handle that. Physically aggressive, I keep them apart.
العنف هو درجات، فمحتاجين نفرق بينهم، ففي عنف جسدي وفي عنف لفظي، فالعنف اللفظي مقدور عليه، لكن العنف الجسدي ده محتاج ان انا افصل بين الزوجين.
Because I want them to be as compatible as possible.
لان انا محتاج اعمل شيء من التوافق بينهم.
I didn't say verbal, I said physical violence. So let's be clear, okay? It's the physical violence that will I keep away. Verbally loud, verbally aggressive, we can tone that aggression. It's when they are physically violent, we want to keep them apart.
العنف اللفظي مقدور عليه، ممكن اقلل من حده الكلام او من نبره الاصوات، لكن العنف الجسدي هو ده اللي لازم فيه الفصل بين الزوجين.
يعني ينفع اشتغل فيها ايه بس وانا فاصله بين الزوجين لحد ما يستبدل هما الاثنين، بعد كده اجمعهم مع بعض واشتغل معاهم سوا.
We got to remember this. In Egypt, the volume for everything is louder. It is. It's just louder. And compared to America, America has 0 to 10. America's a 3. Egypt, from 0 to 10, Egypt is a 8, 9. Yeah, they're loud. So you have to take the contextual piece to it. I try to always work with the couple. I've created groups intentionally so that way they can go learn some other skills in addition to doing couples therapy.
مراعاة السياق الثقافي مهم جدا، لأن في مصر عادة احنا يعني بنميل أكتر للصوت العالي، يعني مقارنة بأمريكا لو هنحط على مسطرة هم ممكن يقعوا على نمرة 3 واحنا نقع على 10 أو أكتر، فممكن إن احنا يعني مهم إن احنا نراعي السياق الثقافي للزوجين اللي احنا بنشتغل معاهم، ونخليهم حتى يعني يشوفوا أزواج تانيين من سياقات مختلفة.
So when you say you separate them, you mean like you don't see them, or you work with each individual?
For which one?
For the
The physical aggression? No, I will actually send somebody. One has to go to a different therapist than me.
One, and you leave one with you?
And yeah, it can be one with me. I won't do couples therapy at that point.
في حالات العنف الجسدي أنا بفصل بين الزوجين بطريقة إن ممكن أحيل واحد من الأزواج لمعالج آخر وأنا أشتغل مع واحد منهم.
Because when there's violence, that's a physical violence. Okay, physical violence, that's a complete out of control person.
لأنه في العنف الجسدي وكأن الشخص ده هو خارج السيطرة أو
why? You can, but are you violating? Okay.
They give consent.
People can give consent. Okay. However, your goal is what's the purpose of you sharing information with the other therapist when the dynamic is already violent?
But she's saying when they start couples therapy.
So then I'm not getting the example. So they come in to me and they say that they're verbally loud and aggressive, I can see both of them together. I can even teach them. If they say he's been violent towards me, I will say the best approaches that we are. I will do the history and find out when was the last time. If they say he's been violent, but the last time was like 5 years ago, that's different than if the violence was this year or within a year's time. So there's little various factors that you have to take into account. I rarely recommend that they come back together, even in the future, because I want to build her self-confidence. Okay. He needs to learn how to control his own reactions. That's for sure a one-year therapy approach.
So you would choose not the abuser.
I've selected, I work with abusers as well. I think that's who I see first.
لو زوجين هوني وهما الاثنين متفقين على او هما الاثنين بيشاركوا انه في عندهم مشكله ضد العنف، ممكن ساعتها اشتغل معاهم كزوجين في نفس الوقت. لكن لو جت الزوجه بتشتكي انه جوزها هو اللي بيمارس عنف عليها، بجيب التاريخ الاسري بتاعه وبشوف هو امتى وقع عليها العنف ده. ممكن يكون من مده طويله من 5 سنين مثلا، فممكن يبقى مقبول ان انا اشتغل عليه. لكن لو هي بتعاني من العنف ده مؤخرا، فساعتها صعب وممكن ان انا افصلهم عن بعض.
In fact, I would refer one of them to a completely different center.
ممكن احيل واحد منهم لمركز مختلف تماما، مش بس معين.
دي ما ينفعش انا اشتغل معاه بس منفصلين.
ما ينفعش تشتغلي مع couples
يعني كل conversation really هو يمكن تخصص cancer work with the same people but individual.
Because you want to protect the victim. You always want to protect the victim. You have to protect one or the other. And if you're protecting one, you really can't protect the other. And this is if there's physical violence, domestic violence. If there's verbal abuse, that's different.
لأن دورك هو حماية الضحية اللي واقع عليها الأذى الجسدي، مش هتقدري تبقي بتحمي الضحية وبتحمي الفرد التاني، يعني انت بتحمي حد تاني، وده بس في حالة العنف الجسدي. لكن العنف اللفظي فهو ممكن وسهل احتوائه في داخل الجلسات الزوجية.
هو ممكن يكون كمان يبقى ضحية، يعني هو اللي بيضرب ممكن هو كمان ضحية، يعني ممكن تكون الزوجة هي اللي بتدفعه للسلوك دوت.
The husband can be a victim as well because the wife will be triggering him to behave in this way.
What it is that the husband has lost full control. He's given up he's given up the power, is what he's saying. It's her fault, that's why I feel that way. Never, never, never. He has lost his own self-control to his own intense feelings. And the most dangerous phone calls, by the way, that law enforcement responds to, it's not the schizophrenic patient, it's not the patient who is depressed, it's not the patient who owns guns, it's the patient of domestic violence.
هو ساعتها بيكون كأنه فقد السيطرة على حدة مشاعره، مش إن هو فقد السيطرة عليها يعني، وإنه القوانين الرادعة بتسن عشان حماية العنف المنزلي بالذات.
So if he gets angry enough, he's going to go shoot you because she's working next day. She's going to shoot her because she was just being friendly. She's going to shoot him or her, and he's going to go through all of them. That's why you keep them separate. Yes. I will tell you what it is in the States. I don't think it quite exists here in Egypt yet. In the States, when there's sexual violence or sexual abuse, sexual molestation, we have a whole Department of Children's Family Services that comes and investigates. They either make the man move out or they take away the children. Here, I don't know that it exists. And so, although we are really mandated reporters, we don't have anyone to go call. So the reality here that all we're doing is prevention of suicide and prevention of killing somebody else. Should we find ways of protecting? Yes, but that infrastructure does not exist here in Egypt.
هو مش منتشر في مصر، ممكن يكون منتشر ممكن يكون منتشر بره، لكن في مصر هذا النوع من العنف الجنسي هو غير منتشر، وبره عندهم اقسام لحمايه.
احنا عندنا برضه عندنا بس غير يعني محدش بيسمع، عندنا خط حماية الطفل
بس ما بتعملش حاجه.
ما هو محدش بيبلغ.
بس حتى لو حد بلغ
يعني لو حد بلغ
المفروض
يعمل.
By the way, I called that hotline. I actually was on the line I tried for like 3 hours one day as I was doing my manual to make sure that the number worked. I would get disconnected. There was lots of things. Which really means that it doesn't work. That's not it. Core interventions, I'm going to get through some of these core interventions. Once these, we've established an alliance or 2 basic tasks: exploration and reformulation of emotional experience. Listen to that. It's always, let's figure out the emotions. Let's give it another meaning to it. Let's restructure the interactions so that it's not so intense.
التدخلات الاساسيه او الرئيسيه، اول حاجه زي ما قلنا اللي هي علاقه التحالف الآلية دي. اول ما نبنيها بنستكشف وبنعيد صياغه المشاعر وبنعيد هيكله التفاعلات.
There's some of the interventions is tracking, reflecting, replaying interactions.
تتبع وانعكاس وتبادل الادوار في التفاعلات.
Because part of what you are doing in that is you're slowing down the experience.
وكأننا بنعمل عملية تبطيء للتجربة.
It's almost as though you're making everything go in slow motion so that you can capture every action that they're doing.
وكأنه بنشغله بالتصوير البطيء.
And then you're also reframing the context. Remember I talked a lot about the context, the location, the setting, the environment, all those become important.
إعادة ترتيب السياقات، واتكلمنا قبل كده عن ازاي ده مهم جدا.
Because you want to understand the cycle, okay?
ترتيب القعدة وازاي الدايرة أو الدورة بتدور.
Because when it comes to systems theory, it's not that A causes B that causes C. It's not like that. It's A may cause B that will trigger D that will trigger Z. And it's like the circular, the more intense, the greater distance, or the more intense, the higher the emotions. And it cycles. Then it impacts the next generation because it's not being resolved. So you become aware of all that.
ففي علم نفس الأنظمة هي مش منفصلة، ولكن النقاط بتبقى متلاقة وبتأثر على بعضها البعض.
And your job is to help them restructure it.
ودورنا إن احنا نساعدهم في إعادة التنظيم ده.
You will reshape some of the interactions.
وهنغير من أشكال التفاعلات.
You will shift the meaning or reframe the meaning of the experience.
هنعيد صياغة المعاني أو التجارب.
Because the goal is to foster a more positive interaction.
لأن هدفنا هو إن احنا نعزز من الخبرات الإيجابية.
And restructuring interventions, restructuring and shaping interactions. That's enacting the present position. So we could say, let's play this out. And they're there. We will go step by step. Okay, let's see how that happens. All right, what could have happened if he said these words?
وكأننا بنعيد تمثيل المشهد أو اللي حاصل بين الزوجين، وبنقول طب تعالوا نتخيل كده لو هو قال الكلمات دي إيه اللي هيحصل؟
And we look for clarification. Why?
توضيح السبب.
We create a new kind of dialogue.
وبنعيد أو بنخلق حوار جديد.
That you're looking for more positive cycles of accessibility.
وبندور على الدورات الإيجابية اللي نقدر نوصل لها.
Okay, out of curiosity, when you go home from your day of doing therapy, are you tired or do you have more energy? Which one are you?
لما بتخلصوا الجلسات لما بتروحوا هل بتحسوا إن أنتوا عندكم نشاط وطاقة ولا تعبانين ومولها؟
Very tired.
Very tired.
Tired, very tired, very tired. So now, imagine your spouse, or actually, yeah, we're going to say you're on your spouse. Oh, how are you? Come on, tell me what's going on. What did you do? What do you normally say?
I think they give me half an hour.
Give me half an hour, okay?
Usually, commuting, when you reach home, you're already done with half an hour.
Yeah, but it took you like, 45 minutes to get here. You mean you need an hour and a half? Oh my God. So how would you react to that?
Really, they feel that?
What?
You speak and they feel that way. Do you want to talk now? Could I make it shorter?
Good.
لما بنرجع من الجلسات وبنبقى حاسين احنا متعبين جدا، فلو قابلنا ازواجنا مثلا وكانوا مهتمين ان هم يعرفوا التفاصيل فاحنا بنرد عليهم بطريقه احنا متعبين او استنى شويه عليا اديني نص ساعه. فده غير بقى ان احنا الوقت اللي خدناه في الطريق لحد ما نوصل البيت وهيبتدي بقى يحصل مقارنات، يعني قعدت كل ده في الطريق مستكتره عليا نص ساعه او
Or you could establish a pattern that on my therapy days, honey, I am just tired and I can't give you the attention that you merit.
او ممكن نقول انه معلش اصل في اوقات مؤسستي للمهنه دي ببقى تعبانه جدا فمحتاجه بس وقت اريح فيه.
However, in the morning, I will.
Go to work again.
What?
Go to work again.
In the morning, you start establishing routines. But okay, so it's not that morning. On Thursday is our day, or on Friday is our day. We'll catch up then in more intentional ways.
ممكن نبقى نتواصل احسن في الفترات الصباحيه مثلا نطلب ده، او ممكن نبقى نتواصل اكتر في الويك اند.
Because all spouses are actually very lenient with each other until they can't take it anymore.
لان في الاغلب الازواج بتبقى متساهله شويه مع ازواجها لحد ما يوصلوا لمرحله يبقوا خلاص مش قادرين يتساهلوا اكتر من كده.
You feel hungry?
Some sessions.
Oh, hungry or angry? Hungry. Oh, yes.
بحس بالجوع بعد بعض الجلسات.
Do you know why? You're asking me? First, the story. So last year I celebrated Ramadan, and I fasted as well from everything from the no drinking to except 2 days. One of them was the day that I reviewed all of my interns' progress notes and their intakes, everything, and I was able to last until about 3 p.m. and then I couldn't take it. Because emotionally I was empty.
أنا صمت رمضان الفكرة أول رمضان ليا في مصر وصمت كله ما عدا يومين. في اليومين دول كنت بقابل الطلبة بتوعي اللي هم في آخر سنة في الماجستير وكنت براجع معاهم التقارير بتاعتهم وحسيت إن أنا منهك نفسيا جدا وما قدرتش أكمل صيام في اليومين دول.
So eating is a very soothing activity.
فالأكل هو نشاط مريح جدا.
That's why many therapists gain weight, by the way.
عشان كده معالجين كتير
And so that's why it's important that we do some other self-care activities. So now, did I scare everyone? I have my card here for therapy sections later. So just so that you know what I do, if I'm going to do, the days that I do therapy are typically Thursdays and Fridays. So on Thursday morning that I'll get up, I will actually I like fruit. So I have fruit ready to go, and I get home and I can just sort of pick at it and say whatever fruit, because otherwise I could have this snack, that snack, this snack, this snack, and then I go through all of it again.
أنا بعمل بس العلاج يعني بمارس العلاج في يوم الخميس ويوم الجمعة وأنا عشان بصحى الصبح بحب آكل فاكهة وبحب أخلي الفاكهة متداولة عشان لو ما فيش فاكهة هبتدي آكل مرات كتير.
Interventions here. Interventions are experiential. It's about the emotional engagement. How can you connect with them? How can you experience them? Because insight is not enough to emotional patterns.
التدخلات التجاربية أو فيها تجارب هي مهمة أوي يحصل تواصل على مستوى المشاعر لأن بس الوعي أو الإدراك مش كفاية، محتاجين كمان يبقى فيه اختلافات في أنماط المشاعر.
It's just knowledge. It's not enough.
العلم أو المعلومات مش كفاية.
It's how do you get them to learn.
ولكن إزاي نخلي الأزواج يتعلموا.
We're going to, just so you know, we will be done by 5. I'm going to stop around 4:30 to watch some videos. So I have like, what, 10 minutes?
5 وهنوقف 4:30 هنتفرج على فيديو. الوعي مش غير كافي لتغيير أنماط المشاعر. الوعي لوحده غير كافي.
Knowledge is not enough. You must also practice it.
المعلومات مش كافية، محتاج نمارسها.
Sometimes the patient said, now I am aware, but what can I do?
But not telling you?
But what can I do? What can I do with awareness?
Okay, so
This is the
yeah. This is so now I'm aware. Great. How will that look like?
يعني الوعي حصل الوعي، طيب ده شيء مهم جدا وشيء عظيم. طيب شكله ايه بقى الوعي ده؟ ايه اللي حصل؟ لازم نستكشف اكتر.
What behaviors will demonstrate that you are aware?
And in the same circle.
ايه التصرفات اللي هتعزز الوعي ده او هتتحرك
ده دورنا بقى اللي احنا بنتعلمه هنا، صح؟ مش لازم نعرف تعلمه هنا.
We're here to learn how to.
So yeah, so if we have more next, because I'm in charge next weekend, we will do a lot more exercises next weekend. This will, I want to give you knowledge so that we have plenty of information.
أنا حقيقي بس اللي أنا قلته إنه أحيانا بيحصل الوعي بس بيفضلوا في نفس السيركل. مش احنا هنتعلم هنا إنه ازاي الوعي ازاي بيحصل
Yes, you will be trained. Next week you're going to do stuff, and then the overall EFT training, that's what it's all about. That's why I also asked, do you have couples?
يبقى في تدريب الاسبوعين اللي جايين ان شاء الله، عشان كده كنت مهتمه اعرف لو انتوا بتشتغلوا مع ازواج حاليا.
Because Egypt is fantastic at gaining knowledge.
اساتذه في تلقي المعلومات.
However, Egypt is not great at getting enough experiments.
ولكن احنا عندنا مشكله في تعايش المعلومات دي او تجربه المعلومات.
I will demonstrate it also next weekend as we do things. Expanding the experience. Oh, okay. Let me see.
If you want to send us the videos and we watch it.
Yeah, you will receive this, and you're going to get all the videos. This is a role play that we're going to do. You know, let me. Yeah, I know. All right, I need 3 volunteers. I'm going to take a little bit more time. 3 volunteers. One stand, please. Who's my other volunteer? Okay, and I need a male. Okay, who would like to be the therapist? Actually, one of you two has to be a therapist. You're the therapist? Okay. I need you two to go create a problem that relates to this. I feel empty or I feel numb. Because you're a couple. Go to the back. Yeah. We need to spread this. What?
One of us is experiencing numbness or
Yes. You create the scenario. We need to now move this whole area so that everyone can see.
احنا اللي هنعمل مشكله
I need 4 seats. I need 4 seats here.
لا بالعكس، فاضي انا مش حاسه حاجه كتير.
seen them for a while.
انا حضرتك دلوقتي
Okay? You've been seeing them for a while? No. This is your second time that you're visiting them, okay? The third visit you haven't seen here. I need to talk to you.
مش حاسس مبسوطة.
The color of the seat. Okay, we have it, sir. All right. All right, so this couple has been together 5 years. And the goal of the therapist is to focus on the process. We're going to help the therapist out. We're going to do some reflection. And we're going to also repeat some of the cycle. Stop. What do we see about this process already?
لا هو انا ما قلناش 3 خطوات بس يظبطوا القعده.
The way they were sitting.
just reset.
could repeat arrange عربي ولا انجليزي؟ عربي
Hold on. I'm going to interrupt this a lot of times, okay? Is what she did a welcoming thing, or is she putting him into more tension? How?
This is a second session, so I don't want to introduce myself or they introduce themselves.
I only say this, I'm pointing this out because to bring closeness, you have to allow, it's not one session or the second session, it's slowly that you're bringing them closer together. So we can all stand and come over here around and watch it if you want. Okay, start out, somebody you start out, but you're doing well.
وانا حاسس اني ما استفدتش حاجه، مش عايز اي مشاعر تجاهها خالص. حاسس ان احنا بقينا عايشين مع بعض. هي واخده بالها من البيت، هي أم كويسه بس ولا مش حاسس ان اي مشاعر تجاهها.
فالاسبوع اللي فات عدى عليك انا لسه في نفس السؤال ده كنت من المره اللي فاتت ولسه حاسس ان الدنيا ما اتغيرتش.
وانا هي ساكته كده على طول، يعني حتى في البيت وفي العلاج مش حاسس ان هي حتى بتسمع.
So reflect feeling to him.
Reflect.
Yeah, a feeling to him.
And how does this make you? You know what? I think about reflection, but this word, I think it will hurt the wife. So I don't want to reflect it.
I don't know, let's test it. Test it.
نجرب كده
تمام. فاحنا حضرتك حاسس انك حاسس ان الزوجه هي ام كويسه جدا، ولكن لسه كزوجه لسه ما قدرتوش توصلوا لبعض، وشايف انها ساكته على طول، وده محسسك بايه؟
Did you reflect feeling, or did you rephrase what you said?
بيقولوا ولا مشاعر.
I reflect what he say and then I ask about his feelings. يعني I told him, so you say that she is a good mother, but still as wife you didn't interact with her. But I didn't repeat that as wife she is a failed wife.
Oh, no, yeah. Let me help you. Okay, yes.
Failed wife.
Let me help you a little bit. What do you think he's feeling?
Lovely.
Maybe. There's a different feeling. What? Yes, frustrated.
Angry.
هو حاسس بالغضب أو بالتوتر.
Reflected to him. It sounds as though
واضح ان هو انت حاسس باحباط.
what process happened here to him?
Yes. She feels.
Yes.
هي حاسة بيا.
Even his tone, if you notice, his nonverbal just sort of sank.
أنا لاحظ إن نبرة صوته كانت تهدى وترتاح.
Yes, she's done two things. She reflected the feeling. She joined him, accepted what the feeling was. He felt empathy, so he's like, okay, so it deflated the frustration. And that wasn't you having to rephrase everything. It was just that feeling.
هي اتصلت مع مشاعر وهو حس بتعاطف منها فحتى ابتدى يرتاح ونبرة صوته تختلف.
Yes.
Is it better to refer out to say what I think he feels, or should I ask him how he feels?
It varies in your style. I often say it sounds as though you may be feeling.
أنا طريقتي ممكن أقول له أنا شايف أو حاسس إن أنت حاسس بكذا.
بس أسأله عنها صح؟ يعني أنا أتحاول معلومة.
Because I think sometimes that clients get confused because they might be aware of how they don't know what they're feeling. So when I give them a feeling, sometimes they just think it's because that's what they know. That's what I suggest.
They can, but if we don't know, if this is the second session, so she will know a little bit more about him. And so remember, part of it is labeling some feelings for them, and later on we can come back and explore it, because he's also looking sad, by the way. But frustrated is an easier feeling to embrace than sadness.
هو كمان يبدو عليه الحزن، ولكن مشاعر التوتر دي أو الإحباط سهلة إن هو يحس بيها، وبعد كده إحنا بنلقي عليه أو بنقول له تعالى نشوف المشاعر دي إيه، وبعد كده بنختبر المشاعر دي.
طب هل أنا أقول له أنا حاسة إنك حاسس بإحباط، ولا أقول له أنا حاسة إن أنت كان عندك توقعات الأسبوع ده توقعات مش
No, that's too much. Now you are projecting your feelings.
أنا معلق إن أنا هيفرق معايا لو هي نجحت إنها تقرا مشاعر، وده حصل فعلا. إن هي نجحت إنها تقرا مشاعر، هي قالت لي أنا حاسة إنك حاسس بإحباط، ده أنا حاسه فعلا. ففرق معايا إن هي قالت لي.
أنا زعلت وأنا عليا لسه فاشلة. هو بيقول إن أنا عاطفة ساكتة رغم إن أنا الأسبوع اللي فات حاولت أعمل مفاجأة بس هو مش بالي وملهاش علاقة بالولاد. بتبقى أمر جديد.
ايه الفكرة لما جيلك الأمر في قلبك أو في عقلك شو
Hold on. So we went from a feeling here to we changed the subject here. So the sequence of the emotions got broken. Okay. And then when you... I don't know, interfering, too strong is you didn't make that nice connection. Because she's also, ask her, I'm going to go back, ask her, what was your reaction to hearing your husband?
I asked her.
How was her reaction to hearing her husband?
رد فعلها لما سمعت جوزها قال عليها كده. لأنه الاتصال
She said she's upset with the reaction to the emotion.
To the emotion, not to the content, to the emotion.
She said, I'm so sad.
She responded to the content that he said, but you translated the content into a feeling. So now I'm trying to get you to get her to that same feeling that he just had, because I'm trying to break the cycle already. And he said this, she said this. I'm mad at him now, and I'm looking for her emotional reaction to his feeling. Here, I'll help you a little bit. So your husband just said that he's getting frustrated with the relationship. Or with the process of it.
فأنت حسيتي بحزن شديد لما هو قال عليكي إنك زوجتش.
حسيت أنا عجزت من العلاقة دي. عجزت يعني إن أنا أعرف قصدي. أنا هو دلوقتي بيقول إن أنا عندي احتراف. أنا عجزت فعلا.
So, I'm listening.
طيب لما المشاعر اللي هي بتقول عليها إن هي حاسة بعكس اللي هي أنت شايف ده
وانا حاسس ان الدور صعب ان انا اكمل ولا لازم
and she's very disappointed and sad. And she said, I'm so sad because he said about me that I'm a failure wife. Unless يعني ولكن يعني but I guess I give him a new cadeau or a gift, a new gift, and this is why not a mother. So do you see that I don't pick the positive thing so that he can see the positive action and she is happy for this one and he will show himself that he is happy with this gift or with this surprise. And I don't understand why you told me to not pick up this positive sign and to work on it. This is a good work. No, it's not. So let me learn from you.
Remember. Wait. Hurry up.
I want to complete the session and your questions after
Here's the thing, what I want you to realize. We are doing emotionally focused therapy, okay, which may be different than what you are accustomed to doing. And emotion-focused therapy, we want to acknowledge his frustration. She's saying, and I feel sad that in his eyes I'm a failure. So what's a reflection that you would make to her? I feel your...
مقدرة جدا الحزن اللي انت حاسة بيه دلوقتي.
Acknowledge.
مقدرة I expect.
I expect. Appreciate. How about
I feel your sadness. I'm considering.
No, it's more of saying
very heavy. So now I gave it now more. So I'm very careful with the words I'm using.
يبدو ان انت تحملي اشياء حزن ثقيله جدا مش سهله في الكلام.
وواضح ان مشاعر الحزن هذه حاجه. تقدري تقولي حاسه بيها في البيزنس؟
يمكن في نفسي بس
هنا ولا هنا؟
لا الخش بيطلع بصعوبة.
خليني أسألك لأي مدى أنت شايف الحزن اللي فيها في تأثيره سواء على قلبك أو على أي جزء من
أنا كمان حزين من اللي احنا وصلنا ما كنتش حلو وقت ما جوزنا نوصل لموقف يعني حاليا.
بس أنا مقدرة إن أنت جيت إنسان مقدرة أوي ربنا حزن.
So, what process is going on?
This has no emotions.
What?
We're not talking about emotions, but they're acknowledging communication.
No, there's emotions between them.
Yeah.
From here, you can feel it. Like their eyes are saying, she's saying it. So like he's feeling it. But be aware of that process. Are you noticing it?
And what I think about the cycle of sadness, do I break it or do I break it and put it in consideration that you are coming here for session and this is a good step or not? Not EAGT.
You're slowing it down to clarify the steps. So how did you get to this point? To both of you can answer the same question.
فاحنا يعني انا مقدره جدا ان هو في حزن عظيم توصل لسكه زي كده وانت مش خلينا نرجع بقى احنا ايه وصلنا للمرحله
أنا كنت داخل الجواز بتوقعات إيجابية. بعدين هي سمحت توديني الجواز وكانت بتيجي مع عادتها عليا. فأنا حاولت ساعتها كتير إني نكون مع بعض، بس بعدين حسيت إن أنا أشد على إنها
كان دايما بيبقى الاحساس المتجدد ليكي جواك من موقف ان والدتها بتتدخل او ان هي والدتها بحبها ومضحكة عنها، لكن دايما بيحسسك
كنت بحس إن هي مش interested في العلاقة.
كنت بتحس انها مش انترستد في العلاقة. اقدر اقول توصلوا ان انت مع والدتي you are not interested او انك مش راغبه في الجواز او فيه هو شخصيا. ده وقع يعني
مستهدف مستغربه.
We will continue this in more detail, but the one thing that I want you to be careful on, you're doing couples, be careful in doing individual therapy with a couple being present. Make sure that you're always processing things. One, always process. Number two, be careful in facing a tangent. Don't always follow this person because then you will skip her. Part of what would have been helpful is, do you remember when it started going, shifting? That way you have both stories versus now it's a reaction because what you were about to do, and you were about to get them in their own cycle again. I'm going to stop us here because it's like 10 till 5. I think longer. We have a few more things that we want to do. We are going to do a quiz. I think we're going to do a quiz together or something. We want to also do an evaluation of these first 2 days. And then at the end we'll talk about what to expect next week.
هو على نفس الحاجات اللي اتقالت هنا امبارح والنهارده. لا مش هنجيب اسبوع بقى، احنا حاجات هنزلها هنا على
خدناش الثانية.
نعم مش الثانية. ايوه الورقة الثانية لسه بس. طيب الحاجة الثانية انا كان في كام نقطة كنا هقولها في الاخر عن الويدرو والبرسور وفيديو. هبعت بقى كله في البرزنتيشن على الايميل بكره الصبح كتير ان شاء الله تبقى اتبعتوا.
هي واحدة بس كل واحد ورقة؟
كل واحد ورقة واحدة بس في الامتحان.
كلمة بطلها atheist.
صح مش فاكر حاجات
كانت في الفيديوز.
زي ما